What's going on, Lions fans? Welcome to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, your home for all the latest and greatest Lions news, updates, analysis, and so much more. I'm your host, Miko, joined once again by my amazing co-hosts. We are going to get to them in a second, but in today's podcast, we are going to be talking about the Lions defensive coordinator, Kelvin Sheppard, getting an interview with the Miami Dolphins for their head coaching job, as well as talk about the news of the Lions interviewing former offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, who was the OC for the Pittsburgh Steelers this past season, and what that could possibly mean. And later in this podcast, we are going to be doing our first ever tier ranking of the Lions offense, which is something new that we're probably going to be doing this offseason. But I think it could be a lot of fun in getting a perspective on what this, roster looks like if you were to break it down into tiers. With that said, let me introduce my two amazing co-hosts. First and foremost, we have your senior editor over here at PrideDetroit.com, Ryan Matthews at Ryan_POD. Ryan, how are you? How was your weekend? What did you make of the divisional round?
Oh, I can't wait to talk about all of that at some point, probably in the break. But man, it's cold. It's really cold in Michigan, and it's getting colder. And being inside watching the Bears lose, it warmed my heart.
I was
Body
going to
was
say it
warm,
warmed my
heart
soul.
was warm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, I saw someone say on Twitter, our nightmare as Lions fans is officially over. And it is. We can now, kind of just enjoy the offseason the way that it should be enjoyed at this point in time, as much as you can enjoy it when you don't get to make it to the postseason. With that said, let me introduce our other co-host. He is your editor-in-chief over at PrideOfDetroit.com, Jeremy Reisman at Detroit Online. Jeremy, how was your weekend, and what did you make of the divisional round?
It was great. I wanna personally congratulate the Chicago Bears on getting as far as the Detroit Lions have made it 2 out of the past 3 years. So welcome to the club. Maybe you get another shot there. Maybe you don't. As Dan Campbell once famously said, you never know if you're gonna make it back. So have a long hard offseason to think about that Caleb Williams interception. Which one you might ask? There was 3 of them.
I was gonna say. The one that mattered the most, because the other ones quickly started to feel like they weren't going to matter at all. And I can't remember. I might have been both of you that I saw post this on Twitter, but it was just like the meme of just like, he can't keep getting away with this. That was exactly the feeling I had watching that game. But like Ryan said, we're going to talk probably about that during our break, which is a great opportunity for you to go check us out over on Twitch or YouTube if you don't know what we talk about during our breaks, because usually it's a little bit all over the place and we get to answer questions from our audience and all of those things. But with that said, let's talk about some of the big news that is happening with our Detroit Lions. And I think there is no bigger story, at least at this moment, with the Lions when it comes to the news surrounding Lions defensive coordinator Kelvin Sheppard, who officially completed an interview with the Miami Dolphins today for their head coaching position. Jeremy, we talked about this a little bit last week, and I'm not saying that we brushed it under the rug, but I don't know if we necessarily as a collective took it nearly as serious as we probably should have, because I think we all looked at it as like, well, Kelvin Sheppard has only been a defensive coordinator for 1 year. The defensive performance was a little up and down. How serious could Miami be? But if they're bringing him in for an in-person interview, which we are kind of a little fuzzy on whether this is officially the first interview or the second interview, that does kind of put this in a different light, right?
Maybe. I mean, it certainly is worth noting that Shep spends a lot of his off seasons in Florida. He has roots in Florida. I know he has a house in Florida, and so like this could just be like a hey, you want me to just swing by type of situation. Like I don't know if that really happens in the NFL, but he is in Southern Florida, and so Miami is obviously close by. But yeah, there is a little confusion about whether this is the first or second interview, and generally when you get the in-person interview that comes after a teleconference interview or something like that. But we never really got a reported first interview. We just heard that the Dolphins were interested in reaching out to get permission. And then this was the first, publicly reported one. And I'm still kind of wary on it. Like there's been reports out there that Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator, is kind of the front runner for the job. He's going to do his in-person interview on Tuesday. And I don't know. Part of me thinks like that might be a situation where they just don't let that guy leave the building and that's their next hire. But at the same time, they are going through the process of this, and it's not, I think sometimes people are too quick to jump to Rooney Rule and all that sort of stuff. I don't necessarily think that's what that is. I think a lot of times you want to see what the other people see. There's been a lot of buzz around Kelvin Sheppard for a long time, and you want to see that infectious personality in your building. And do I think that if Sheppard like goes in there and he had his interview officially today on Monday. Do I think he made a big impression on the Miami Dolphins? Yeah, absolutely I do, because he made an impression from day one when he was up there in front of the podium as the outside linebackers coach here in his first year in Detroit. So does that mean I think he's going to get the job? Probably not, but I think like Dolphins are going to remember him, and he played there, so it's not like some of the people in that building don't know him at all, but I don't know. I still think it's too early for him. I still don't think he gets the job, but I would say like if you don't want the Lions changing both coordinators this offseason, if you don't want them to lose Kelvin Sheppard in the long term here, you better hope he doesn't get a lot of interviews, because I just think he's going to continue to make like really big impressions and surprise a lot of people.
Ryan, and I think that's kind of like the big question that I have with Miami showing so much interest in Shep is if the interest is real, and if this is interest that is like, kind of consistent across the league, do you think the Lions are in a position right now where they can really afford to lose, like to have another offseason where they're going to be possibly replacing their offensive and defensive coordinator in the same offseason?
The Eagles have had that problem pretty often, and they've navigated it with relative success. But yeah, I think it's a fair question to ask if, with so much change, are you losing some of the essence of what made the Lions so successful? In 23, in 24, you had Aaron Glenn coming back, you had Ben Johnson coming back, so you didn't have so many variables to consider. I think with the Dolphins job, what is fascinating is one, well, Sean McDermott just got fired, and that's a guy in the AFC East where it's like, okay, that's another guy maybe we want to interview. But, reading the tea leaves, and as Jeremy mentioned, when you have a guy in John Eric Sullivan, their new general manager, who came from the Green Bay Packers, it seems like Hafley is that front runner to be the coach. Is Jeremy reading news? His eyes are getting big.
Sorry. No, we got a big sub dump that we never get big sub alerts. Sorry.
I love that. I thought he was about to be like, and Jeff Hafley's the head coach.
No.
But I think again, like John Eric Sullivan being in the NFC North, an opportunity to interview Kelvin Sheppard, and I don't know, like everybody's just casting a wide net. Everybody's interviewing everyone. That's been the big takeaway from this offseason cycle. And when at one point, or there's 9 openings still, right? Because now McDermott got fired.
Yeah, we're back up to 9.
And you're wondering if maybe John Harbaugh has a little bit of buyer's remorse because you could have went to Buffalo and had Josh Allen. Maybe you made the wrong pit stop in New York, but I think, Miko, that's the big takeaway, is that everybody's interviewing everyone. And to Jeremy's point, when you have a personality like Kelvin Sheppard who gives kind of that same energy as Aaron Glenn, where even early on you could sense that Aaron Glenn was going to be ready for a head coaching position sooner rather than later, maybe teams are just getting FaceTime with the guy.
And I think we talked about this last week as well. It really probably comes down to what is the focus of the Dolphins, like with this new coaching hire, right? I think there's always this idea of, are they looking to just stay in contention as possibly jump back into being in the playoff race immediately? Or are they kind of looking at like a full scale rebuild in the sense of culture? Because I feel like that was one of the issues with the Dolphins this past season, is that there seems to be a lot of like internal turmoil with not even just like leadership, but also with like the team and the players. If you're looking for someone that can be that pillar and that person that can kind of, I don't want to say force change, but can like kind of get guys to all galvanize on the same mindset and on the same mission, that is where I think Kelvin Sheppard will probably shine the best. He doesn't have, it's very clear, he doesn't have the head coaching experience. He just got to become a defensive coordinator this year. Even if you were to bring him in, like, you're probably going to be looking at a guy that's going to be trying to find other coaches across the league that have that experience that can help him along the way. So it really comes down to, what is Miami's focus going into this upcoming season? Like, are they looking at like, hey, we're going to probably be looking at starting over. We're probably going to be moving some pieces in the offseason to probably get some more draft capital, and we're going to give someone like Kelvin Sheppard the space to develop and kind of reset things here? Or, like I said, are they looking at like, oh, well, Buffalo just fired their coach. Yeah, New England is, the cream of the crop in the division, but I mean, hey, if you can be second place in the NFC East, that may not be the worst position to be in.
And there also seems to be that
AFC
theme.
East. Sorry.
That theme with the Dolphins. They brought in Kelvin Sheppard. I know they have an interview with the Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham. All this interest in Jeff Hafley. Is that the
Saleh.
yeah? Is that the swing? Like we got rid of the offensive guy and now we need to go
Yeah.
to the defensive guy? Because I know
Yeah.
in his press conference, John Eric Sullivan talked about because they asked him a question about the Dolphins when they play in these cold weather environments, like
Hmm.
there's a lot of struggles in cold weather games, and he said our division runs through Buffalo and New England and New York, and he said fast gets slow, but big doesn't get small. So maybe that's
That's a
the
great quote.
yeah the defensive minded coach might be the guy that they're looking for, and boom, there's Kelvin Sheppard right there.
But I think Mako brought up a good point there, which is what can Kelvin Sheppard do to build out a staff? I feel like his tree, his range of, he's only been with the Detroit Lions in the coaching ranks in LSU. He played for a while, and that's going to help his tree a little bit for sure. He's close to Steve Spagnuolo, and I'm sure he would provide some sort of help in helping him reach other people. But that again to me just
okay. Hold on. The Lions are hiring an offensive coordinator.
Okay,
Great. Breaking news.
Drew Petzing is the Lions are was not even on the radar, or according to this, but now the Lions might have their new offensive coordinator, according to Adam Schefter. Okay. Wow.
Hard pivot, guys.
I think maybe we need to take a break.
I think we're going to take 20. We're going to take 20.
We're going to take a break. That'll end our Kelvin Sheppard conversation, and we're going to take a break and give our live reaction to this after I write an article about it, I think.
And in the meantime, we're going to talk about jerky, because who doesn't want to talk about jerky while they get ready to go into a break? The Pride of Detroit PODcast is brought to you by Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. It's the jerky that fuels the Pride of Detroit PODcast. Each 2-ounce bag of jerky has 16 to 20 grams of protein, and each stick has 8 grams. Trust me, if it's good enough for you, if it's good enough for the Lions, it's going to be good enough for you too. Righteous Felon is based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. They use locally sourced, all-natural black Angus beef and prides itself on superior quality, revolutionary branding, and unique flavors that go beyond the stereotypical jerky offering. Since Jeremy's going to be taking our break to basically write an article, I'm going to take our break and basically eat the Marilyn Monroe that I basically had in my backpack, which I was planning to eat after my workout, and instead we have to do this podcast. So while he writes an article, I'm going to snack and get that quality protein that I've been looking for, which is, again, one of the main reasons why I go to Righteous Felon Craft Jerky, to get, basically a great snack that is also really good for me and my trying to hit my protein goals. So if you want to kind of have that same type of success, you can go over to righteousfelon.com and use the promo code POD15 at checkout to get 15% off your order. Again, that's promo code POD15 at righteousfelon.com. When we come back from the break, we are going to give our live reactions to the Lions hiring an offensive coordinator on Martin Luther King Day of all days. Who knew? We thought we had a dream of what the offensive coordinator could be, and it turns out that the Lions got that on today. We're also going to step into our tier rankings of the Lions offense, which is going to be something I'm really looking forward to. So we're going to do that and a whole lot more right after this.
What is also going on with our alerts? What's happening?
Are we just getting a lot of donations, or
Emerson dropped 225 gifted bombs, or is it 3? How many? Emerson, thank you, first of all. Jesus, I
think it was 3.
I think it was 3, and I'm not ready to react to anything yet, so I'm going to be quiet for the next 10 to 15 minutes.
I kind of just want to read.
Yeah.
That doesn't make for great content, but I guess I can just read out loud, right?
Sure.
So Drew Petzing, interesting coaching hire. That's the adjective I have right now. Going all the way back to Harvard 2009 as a volunteer student assistant. Boston College as a graduate assistant. I mean, he's been in a lot of different places and he's served a lot of different roles. First NFL gig was with the Cleveland Browns as an intern in 2013. Offensive assistant with the Vikings in 2014 and 2015 under Zimmer. Assistant wide receivers coach with the Vikings in 16 and 17. Assistant quarterbacks coach in 2018 with the Vikings. Wide receivers coach in 2019 with the Vikings. So from 2014 to 2019, served in all sorts of different capacities. Cleveland Browns tight ends coach for Stefanski from 20 to 21. Browns quarterbacks coach in 2022, and then got the Cardinals offensive coordinator position when Jonathan Gannon got hired in 2023. So
is there any Lions ties here?
that's the next thing that I'm searching for. I don't know if there's any overlap with all those years in Minnesota.
It was under Zimmer.
Right. I just don't know.
This came out of nowhere.
I gotta say, man, like this is underwhelming.
I was gonna say, like, I'm like just going back and looking at like what the Cardinals have done the last 3 seasons where he's been the OC, and yeah,
Just like a weird spot for that Arizona offense, though, where it's like Kyler Murray's like in and out of the lineup, and then it's Jacoby Brissett and
James Conner's kind of in and out of the lineup as well, if I remember.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Again, to Jeremy's point, totally, totally out of left field.
He did build 2
Okay.
really strong rushing attacks in his first 2 years in Arizona. They ranked 4th in rushing yards in 2023, 7th in rushing yards in 2024, but it fell off a cliff this year and it was 31st.
Yeah, but they were one of the better passing offenses this year.
They were. Well, in yards.
I mean, in yards and touchdowns.
And attempts. They were just throwing the ball a ton. Maybe they were just trailing. Yeah, because they were
explain
last
a lot.
in rushing attempts as well and first in passing attempts. I think they were just trailing in every game.
Yeah.
Lot of Trey McBride stuff though. Trey McBride, tight end.
Sam Laporta breakout year.
Sam Laporta, please, your back be okay? So in 2018, was he the Vikings assistant quarterbacks coach? In 2018, Cousins set a team record for completion through 3rd most passing yards, had the 2nd highest completion percentage, and recorded the 4th highest passer rating by a Viking in team history. But it's like assistant quarterbacks coach. Okay.
I mean, I guess that's the one thing that I do like about this hire is that he seems to have a good amount of exposure to like various aspects of this, like of the offense, right? Like he's worked with wide receivers, he's worked with tight ends, he's been a quarterbacks coach.
Yeah.
So
Pretty much
like
everything except for offensive line.
I would say offensive line and running backs, basically, which I think you feel pretty good about your offensive line with Hank, regardless of, how this year kind of turned out. And I think Tashard Choice is like proved to be a good running backs coach. And even still, you still have Scotty, that you can kind of lean on in that regard as well.
Yeah.
So I think the question really comes down to like the creativity, right? Like, do you think you're getting a creative mind with this hire? And I don't know that Arizona ever really showed that. And I don't know.
I
Like,
just want to know,
blame that
like,
on.
like was he calling? I mean, I assume he was calling plays from the jump with Gannon being a defensive-minded coach. So I'm assuming he started calling plays in 23, and he's done it for 3 seasons now.
Yeah, was Gannon a offensive guy?
No, defensive guy.
So yeah, I would assume he was calling plays.
But did notice too. I mean, I know Gannon got fired, but Petzing's contract just ended this season, I think. Like he didn't he didn't get
Right.
fired as well, even though the assumption would be that you'd bring in your own offensive coordinator. But
I got different issues more so with this hire that like are not related to football whatsoever.
What's that?
I always question the guy that goes with the bald head and no facial hair. That just it's a weird look, man.
Um,
So Rappaport in his tweet categorized this as an extensive search leads Dan Campbell to an experienced play caller for his offense. Do we feel like this was an extensive search? Because I feel like the thing that like the Lions basically did with this is like we don't know a lot of the people they interviewed. So apparently clearly they interviewed him at some point, but like that was like never reported by anyone.
well, that's how they operated last year too. Dan Campbell said he interviewed like 25 people between the
Yeah.
offensive and defensive coordinator jobs, and we heard like two. Like I don't even remember if we heard any. And so
Yeah.
I if this is happening out of the blue, you have to imagine there are a ton of interviews that we also didn't hear about, right? Like
Yeah.
mhm.
I have no reason to believe this wasn't an extensive search. It's basically lasted what 2 weeks now.
Did it go beyond 10 days?
It did
All right.
I
So I
think-
guess we can count that as extensive.
more
But I think-
extensive.
I think
Thank you. There it is. More extensive.
I think there was a false narrative that last year's coaching search was not extensive just because they went with a guy that they know.
So, and okay, because I was going to bring this up when we talked about Arthur Smith, but obviously there's no point in doing that now. Brad, obviously in his exit press conference, talked about like how certain things that the Lions do may not come with a headline, and he talked about like I think there was a comment. I think it was more so related to free agency, but he talked about like not wanting to like tip his hand for like strategic purposes, like not trying to like give maybe insight into what the Lions were trying to do or looking to do. Do you think that's why why they're not more forthcoming with who they're interviewing? As to like keep other teams in the dark about like who they may or may not have interest in?
I was reading data. Can you say your question again?
Yeah. Do you think the Lions don't like advertise who they're interviewing for strategic purposes? Like that they're just like they're doing that to kind of try and keep the rest of the league in the dark as far as who they're interested in?
I don't know. I feel like just because I'm mostly focused on the Lions and their coaching searches, I'm not looking at the way that other teams are handling their coaching vacancies with coordinators. Like, I feel like the head coach stuff is always pretty widely publicized. But like as far as like other teams and their coordinator searches, because right now it seems like more so the news that's dominating things and like the not the rumors, but like the reports that are getting out are like this person's interviewing for a head coaching job. This person's interviewing for a head coaching job.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Certainly like team by team that would change.
Yeah. Like it's again, it doesn't irritate me that they don't announce like, oh, we've completed an interview with it like other teams do when they're like, we've interviewed this person or we've interviewed that. It doesn't irritate me at all, but it is something that I'm curious on. Like when I see other teams doing it, granted, like you said, it's typically for head coaching positions. It is something where I'm like, I wonder why the Lions don't do this. And all I can think about is when Brad's talking about like, hey, we don't want to tip our hand or we want to keep certain things close to the vest. It's like, maybe that's what this is, but I don't necessarily. It's hard for me to understand what the value in that is.
Yeah. So 2023, Arizona finishes ninth in rushing DVOA. In 2024, they finish ninth in rushing DVOA. Finished 11th in in overall DVOA on offense that year in 2024. So probably his best season.
Okay.
Um,
I do find it very interesting that it feels like the common thread through all these candidates is a good running game. And the reason I find that interesting is because I thought they might go in the opposite direction, because I thought that was Fraley's stuff. And like, that's, I understand that's where the Lions took a step back this year, right? The run game.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like, I don't know what that means for like, part of me wonders what that means for Fraley, is if they're looking at a bunch of teams that have, a bunch of guys
Maybe.
that have improved the run game.
it's always a chicken and egg thing, right? Where it's like, is it the personnel up front, Miko? Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the one time that John Morton got himself into some hot water was the comments about like execution, right, along the offensive line.
Yeah. I I think there is a good like I think there is a very good argument that can be made, and it's not a stretch by any means to say that the offensive line, that members of the offensive line like drastically either took a step back or just didn't play to the standard that I would say probably just didn't play to the standard that the Lions were hoping for. And I don't know. I think Hank carries like part of the blame for that, obviously, because like he's getting when he gets so much credit for improving the offensive line or having the offensive line play well, we give him all the praise for that. So if they take a step back, like you have to be culpable for some of that regression.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it also is a reality check for for Lions fans as well to be like, are we sure that was the best five that the Lions could have possibly had to play this season? Like I
Mm-hmm.
think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like Christian Mahogany, in a way, won the left guard position almost kind of by default.
Yeah. Oh, hey, real quick, did you see the Field Yates tweet?
Yeah, I
That
was
the
actually gonna
Ben
bring that
Johnson
up because
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
They yeah,
yeah, they coached together at Boston College.
and Petzing was in Ben Johnson's wedding as a groomsman.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Interesting. I guess there's your connection. A former coach.
Throw that in the article.
I mean, yeah, I mean at this point in time we would be stretching it, but I mean if Dan's been always been very adamant that him and Ben are friends, right? Like it's not even just like hey, we work together, like he's a friend
Yeah.
of mine. It's again, it's a stretch, but it's also not outside of the realm of possibility that like while like on Ben's way out or anything like that, like Dan would probably ask him like, "Hey, like who would you who do you think are some good names to kind of consider and things like that?" And maybe he mentions a guy like Drew, but Dan decides to go with the guy that he likes in John Morton. And then on the second go around, it's like, "Hey, let me go back to this guy that Ben suggested and you know, shake that tree a bit."
They did interview a play caller that is worth certainly pointing out. A guy who can call plays.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Which like checks one of the boxes of the things I wanted to happen with the offensive coordinator.
I
Like I
agree.
wanted,
Oh,
I
for
wanted
sure.
Dan to not be calling plays. So
Yeah, I think
Dano seems to like him. Not that I've never seen Dano say anything bad about a hire, but really, like
Well,
run game certainly seems to be the specialty. I'd be more interested into jumping in why it fell apart this past year. There are a couple of reasons that jump off the page right off the bat. Is that they didn't have James Conner. He got injured. Two is that they just didn't run the ball much. They still averaged 4.3 a carry this year, which isn't terrible. It's like middle of the pack.
yeah, I want to say that didn't they get down to like almost like running back four? Because like
Yeah, they had Zonovan Knight for a while. Zonovan Knight started 8 games for them.
yeah, yeah, and the only reason I know that for a fact is because like again, fantasy football wise, because people were like, it was almost like any given week you could pick up a Cardinals running back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, James Conner in 2023, 49.5% success rate, five 5 yards a carry.
Yeah, I mean, it was like 5 yards a carry as a team in 2023, 5.4, I think, the next year.
I was gonna say, yeah, James Conner in 2024, and this was the year they ranked highest in DVOA. I think they finished 11th in 2024. Five, 4.6 a carry for James Conner, but a 51.7 success rate. Um, no, I don't know. I mean that also includes a running quarterback. Like Kyler Murray had 78 carries that year.
Yeah, 572 yards.
So
James
that
Conner
definitely.
had 4.6. Trey Benson had 4.6.
So at least like your traditional running backs are there, and like success
still
rate too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe me, if the Lions had leaked this to us, we would not
wouldn't
be
have
here
scheduled
right
a
now.
podcast. Yeah.
No, it would be the opposite, Nick. We would not. I mean, I guess it benefits us to be live because now people want to talk about it, but I am completely unprepared to talk about him. I don't know a ton about him. I'm learning about him as you all are right now as well. I don't know. It's interesting. I try never to get like fully behind any coaching during these carousels because there's just so much information that we don't know about these people. And so I mean it certainly could work, but I think this is I know this is going to go over as underwhelming for most people because they had their minds kind of set on Mike McDaniel in general, I would say. If the Lions would have said they interviewed him 2 weeks ago and we got to dive deep on him and maybe point out some of the positive things about him, then maybe people will be a little bit more open to this one. But
Yeah.
now we're like, what do you like? Yeah, I'm already seeing just an absolute unserious organization. Like, okay,
That's
probably didn't even know this guy existed 2 hours ago.
Well, I was gonna say though, like, I think that's the part where you have to reel people back in because how many of you knew anything about Ben Johnson before he like actually got the OC position?
Right.
How
many of you were mad that they hired internally at that point?
How many of
Right.
you were mad that they were giving an important position to a guy who was a part of Matt Patricia's staff?
Like I think that's like, yeah, I think that's all. Yes, I can understand if you were, which Ryan and I were both like Mike McDaniel people. If that's the horse that you were betting on, like, yes, this is underwhelming in comparison. However, I think the reason that it's always so difficult to, like, to Jeremy's point, to get really invested in coaching hires, you don't know a ton about these guys. And even when you start backtracking and looking at where they've been and what they've done, there's still like so much nuance. Like looking at the Cardinals, like I saw someone say in the chat, like expect to look for a down years for the wide receivers. Like that's going based off of Kyler Murray being your quarterback.
And
Well,
And Jared Goff is a considerably better passer of the football than
who
Kyler
are the
Murray
Cardinals
is.
receivers?
Well, I mean, like they did
They had
draft
Marvin Harrison.
Mazda Marv, but I mean, like his struggles were like catching the football,
Right.
Yeah.
but also
And being
like
healthy.
Marvin
Trey
Harrison
Mc
can stay healthy.
was Trey McBride first team All Pro tight end.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Um, here's how I'm feeling about
Michael
it. Like
Wilson put up 1,000 yards.
I do want to co-sign. Well, two things. If you guys saw the tweet that John brought up in Slack, but like interviewed for the Bears head coaching job last year.
Okay.
So I think he was like, again, that's after the 2024 season where the Cardinals had statistically close to a top 10 offense by DVOA standards. I think the initial reaction is underwhelming, but it's only underwhelming because of how little information you have about
Right.
the guy.
That's
So
what I'm
like
saying,
if,
yeah.
if you're right, if you want to immediately jump to this is a bad hire because I don't know this guy, then I hate to be that person, but like do your own research thing. Or just wait for some people who you trust their opinion to do said research and compile it and put it into an article or a podcast like us. If you trust us, then like let us get you the full breadth of it. Because the one thing I did see, I don't know if you guys saw the Albert Breer article, where he had mentioned that Mike McDaniel seemed to be
A
like the
good
front
fit.
runner for, yeah, like a good fit for the Tampa Bay job
Right.
as their OC and like a potential like future successor to Todd Bowles.
Mhm.
I don't I don't know how old Todd Bowles is. I, I mean, he's certainly not
I
young, but like I mean, he's 62,
yeah,
but like if you're thinking of like this guy could be the next guy, like that would make a lot of sense with how many offensive coordinators they've lost over I mean, Dave Canales, Liam Cohen, like they've lost like guys on guys on guys, and it's like, well, let's bring one in who has potential head coaching chops that if this works, you can move on from Bowles and you already have a guy who's like in the organization. So like I think that maybe makes sense. Maybe even a situation like Philadelphia makes a lot of sense for McDaniel, right? I think the one thing that you can maybe draw the dots and you can connect some of those dots is maybe the Lions job wasn't the most attractive offer in terms of like for like growth.
sure. And I think we
So
talked about that
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Just if
like
you're
how much can
bummed,
you?
if you're bummed if they didn't get McDaniel, like you have to kind of think about like what
Mhm.
was the most attractive opportunity for McDaniel. And he just might get a head coaching job if he wants a head coach. The Bills job just opened.
I was gonna say the Bills job just opened. The Ravens job is still open.
The Steelers job is still open.
I still think that's one of the least attractive jobs. But yes, organization wise, like solid, team wise, I don't know what the hell you do with that team.
There's a lot of building there, but I mean, I think it's almost more like one of the more important things I think is like a head coach is like looking for organizational stability or like,
Sure.
right?
Hmm.
So like maybe that's a good like the roster sucks, but like you've seen plenty of teams just like flip around a roster as long as you have competent people who are making decisions and like
Yeah, I think with the Steelers, I still look at them as like they're kind of stuck in limbo right now, where it's like you kind of got to make a decision. Like I think everyone in that organization might have to be okay with like, hey, we might have to suck next year to kind of so that we can hopefully get back to where we want to be the following season.
hmm. Well, I
Like
don't know. Did we
like
talk about how
we
many
might
picks they have?
do they have a ton?
They have 12 picks in the draft this year.
Okay, so maybe they don't have to do that this year. Just was under the impression that they probably didn't have that many.
Yeah. Pick 21, 53, 76, 85, 99. Five picks in the top 100. You could turn things around in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they have two, four. They have seven picks in the first four rounds. And correct me if I'm wrong, but like Tomlin essentially had like GM authority, kind of like he was in charge of like player
He
personnel
probably
stuff.
I was gonna say he probably had a lot to say. When you're around for 19 years, like
Yeah.
people probably your voice probably carries a good amount of weight
Hmm.
in draft picks. Um,
I wonder.
yeah, I will
So
say go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, the more I'm digging into Petzing here, he was heavily influenced by Norv Turner, who was the offensive coordinator at Cleveland when Petzing started in the NFL as an offensive assistant, and basically dragged him to Minnesota with him, where he was like in Norv Turner's pocket for 6 years or whatever. I guess for 3 years, and
He was
then
he was the OC under Zimmer.
yeah, yeah. Um, and part of me wonders like maybe you just bring in Norv Turner too as like a senior offensive assistant.
How old is Norv Turner?
He's 73.
I was gonna say because I feel like I was gonna say he was old when he was in the league. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's only been 1 year removed from being. Oh wait.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. A senior
So-
advisor last year with the
Yes, but
Raiders.
what I didn't realize is that there was 5 years in between that job and the previous one.
Yeah, and his
Okay.
previous one was special assistant to the head coach.
no, they
I
didn't.
forgot what I was gonna say. But
The Broncos did not just sign Russell Wilson. That's fake news, right?
What? No. No, there's no way.
got-
Sean Payton. No, that would never happen.
I was gonna say like they would have like that's a fight in the parking lot.
the expectation, according to Jeremy Fowler, is Dan Campbell would relinquish play calling for the new guy.
I mean, yeah.
I think so.
That's not even
Yeah.
a report. That's just like we just figured that out.
No, I mean, he said the expectation during OC interviews is that Dan
Oh.
Campbell
Oh,
would
was
relinquish.
oh was that? I mean, I think that at least had to be on the table for anybody you interviewed.
I would think so.
Oh man,
Hmm.
I just saw Foxy's tweet and it's just like, who the hell is this guy? I'm like, oh great, you're gonna be one of those
Maybe
people,
that
aren't you?
guy.
Okay, and the problem is though, is that with such a loud, with such an opportunity to be so loud about this, like that is what people latch onto. Like I can't wait to hear Mike Valenti's
Yeah, I can't wait.
take on this.
Where did Brad Galley get his picture of Drew Betzer though? Like I looked at his versus everybody else's. And,
Some
like,
Minnesota receivers refer to him as Uncle Drew. I will say the thing that bothers me most about this hire is that he's younger than me. He's 38. You son of a
he's
bitch.
older than me.
He's not much older than me. Like, yeah.
Jarius Wright, here's a quote from him, says, he's very, very intelligent. If you give him a school book, he would make all A's. You would think that it wouldn't translate so much to football, but if you gave him any test to know any player, any position on offense, he would know it, every single thing about it. And that was as an assistant. We knew at some point he was going to make it and be an OC. I feel like a lot of this should probably be on the podcast. And I'm kind of thinking
I mean-
maybe this is just the rest of the podcast as well. Like, does anyone
I'm
want to
fine with
do
that, too.
tier offensive player rankings right now?
Not right now, but also like kind of like I feel like I need to digest stuff.
Yeah. That,
You know what I mean? Like
for sure.
I don't feel like I have like a super well informed opinion other than the cursory research we just did live on air. But
Right. Well, I think here's how we should probably tackle it for the podcast. Maybe keep it relatively short. Say, here's what we know about the guy. Here's what this might say about the Lions hire. Here's why we aren't disappointed about not getting our guy, whatever.
Mhm.
And then, like, you and I then probably have a first biting to do somewhere in the near future with a Cardinals writer.
With Bo Brack.
Maybe. And maybe we even go back to a Minnesota writer. There's someone.
A Minnesota writer, you say?
Oh yeah, Or we could tap Arif. I don't know if Arif has said anything about this guy yet. But Matthew Coller, Coller on Twitter, who is covering the Vikings at Purple Insider, formerly on 1500 ESPN WGR 550, said of Petzing. Petzing is a sharp dude, coached with the Vikings from 2014 to 2019. People don't realize Arizona's offense squeezed a lot of blood from the stone in 2024, and Kyler, it's gross, I don't like that. And Kyler played his best in-structure ball that year. Then this season got a lot of Jacoby Brissett.
I mean, that's the silver. Which again, we can dive into this in the podcast, but I think that is the silver lining for me. Is that like you look at those first 2 years where the run game was really good, and even in the third, and even in this past season when the run game wasn't good, the passing game was passable, like
Well,
encouraging.
What was volume heavy?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I think when an offense could have just completely like bottomed out, like they still found ways of finding success in the passing game.
I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe again in terms of, I mean, they finished 24th in DVOA in passing this year. So,
Yeah.
It's just they had
um,
the literally first most amount
passing attempts.
of passing attempts and 32nd in rushing attempts.
All right.
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
If you want to jump back into it, then yeah. Do you want to do that? And then we can.
just hang out
I'll
and
tell you what tier Coyote Awashika belongs in.
No, we should save that for another episode. Like
Yeah.
this
I mean, I
has
think
now
we could do an
become the
episode.
offensive coordinator episode. Or
I was
one
gonna
of
say
them.
maybe the next episode we can just do offense and defensive tier listing. Unless there's more. I don't.
Well,
How much news are we gonna get the rest of the?
we might get some more news though about like some reshuffling. Like, is Scotty Montgomery going to
Oh,
stick around? Is you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like now that you have your offensive coordinator, maybe some things start to shake out. Like so.
but yeah, I would be actually kind of disappointed if Scotty, if you like, I don't know if there's too much shuffling on the offensive staff that I would like to see them doing.
But they might not have a say in that. It might be like Scotty's like, oh, I might be able to go get like an OC job somewhere or get another job where like I could get an OC job soon, kind of thing. Like we were
Sure,
just talking about with McDaniel, right? Like there might be another opportunity where it's like, oh, I see upward progression here more so than I see here in Detroit because I just got passed over again for another outside guy. And I'm Scotty Montgomery and I've been here and I've done the running backs and I've done the wide receiver coaching.
Oops. What am I doing?
hmm,
I'm gonna make a quick list of just like statistical rankings, just to kind of give a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And I can share that with you guys if you want it. We on offense? We are on offense. DVOA. Arizona was 21st in DVO the first year. DVOA. And pass. 23rd in pass, 9th in run. Ninth. DVOA. This is crazy. Well, you never got to get your shots in at what's his name? The other
Hey,
kid
well,
that
no,
everyone
Arthur
nope,
hated.
Smith.
Arthur
that's not
Smith.
true. We got saved from Arthur Smith. That is another silver lining. We were saved from Arthur Smith
That I guess that can be the take.
because I think that's where I would have actually like, I'd have been pissed. Like Jeremy, there's no way you could have sold me on that 2 years that he was in Tennessee. Be like, well, no, no.
All right. All right.
All right.
Ryan said it best. You can put a
What?
pig in a dress. It's still a pig.
Oh, he did.
I just don't understand why like everyone was all in on Mike McDaniels and all out on him.
I think because like Arthur Smith has legitimately become like a meme of
Drew
across the
Petzing is the
NFL.
OC, and it doesn't matter.
I don't care what the public thinks about most of these people. The public's usually wrong in most things.
That's great. I still think he's terrible.
I don't know. How did you feel about Arthur? Real quick, I guess before we get in, how did you feel? Because I read like half that article, and I'm glad I only read half of it that you shared, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Because now it doesn't matter.
I mean, the complaints about an offensive coordinator on a losing team is the same across the board. I didn't like their play calling. They became too predictable. And I'm sure there's some truth to that, and it seems like the running game in particular was not good there. But I don't know. Can like the I don't know why, but like the one comment that grinds my gears most is this team is not serious about winning. What do you think they're doing? What does that mean? What do you think Dan Campbell is trying to accomplish in his offensive coordinator? You think he's not trying to win?
I would just need an example of what seriousness would look like from this person. Like, what does the word serious mean to you?
You think Dan Campbell is trying to lose his job? Is that what you think he's doing? Like what does that comment mean?
Well, when they brought in Arthur Smith, that's what I was thinking he was trying to do.
Nick, why are you trolling right now?
Who, me?
Who? No, I said, why is Nick trolling right now?
Oh, the Greek?
Oh,
Yeah. 9 people were interviewed. So Kafka was interviewed, Zach Robinson, Arthur Smith, Perzog, T. Martin, Peets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's still only 7. Okay, so would mean not hiring an OC from a team who had an awful defense. So not Mike McDaniel then. Dolphins just had an awful offense. You don't want him? What about the Giants?
I wanted Mike
who did you want? Oh, he just came from an awful offense.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, where are you going to just find an offensive coordinator who just ran a fantastic offense available? First of all, how many of those are just sitting out there waiting? Young offensive coordinators who just completed a great season of offensive coordinating. Who's that guy?
Well, who are the guys that are getting interviewed? Because one thing I will say that I think I noticed about this coaching carousel is like it's a lot of like former head coaches. And I mean, I know that there's some offensive coordinator positions that are, getting filled, but like.
but I feel like even those positions, like it's a lot of interviews with like quarterback coaches. I feel like, so again, like guys that you don't know a ton about. Like, I don't know. Like I said, I understand if you're like Ryan said, I think earlier, I understand if you were very like Mike McDaniel heavy, or if you had a guy,
Mm-hmm.
this is going to be underwhelming. I just don't know if you can have a sweeping take similar to what Jeremy was talking about, where it's like they're not being serious. You don't know that.
Right. I'm not going to sit here and defend the hire, but I think I'm going to defend against the like lazy, they're not serious. Oh, this guy sucks because I just looked and the Cardinals finished 20th in scoring. Like that's.
Yeah, I think if that's the take, if your take is also like I don't know this guy, again, it goes back to the whole like did you realistically know anything about Ben Johnson other than the fact that like oh, he was a part of Matt Patricia's staff and coached the tight ends.
Mm-hmm. I'm also just seeing a lot of people are like, oh, Cardinals fans hated this guy. And it's like,
well, yeah, their offense sucked. Like, well, the team sucked. Like,
right.
That's dude, their head coach was Jonathan Gannon. I think we all agreed that as soon as we saw zoom. Like, we were like, oh, wow, this guy is interesting.
Here's the thing that I'm encouraged by. Strong running game, lots of usage of tight ends. That's what like I think Dan Campbell probably saw what Pittsburgh did this year. He probably saw what the Rams did this year, and like we need that. Let's make our version of that.
Or what the Cardinals did in 23 and 24.
So what you're saying is they're taking the tight end out of Oregon in the first round.
Sure. I don't know. I mean,
they're signing Kyle Pitts. I'm finally getting it.
I would have such mixed feelings. I would have such mixed feelings.
This is why I was pushing back on some of the Mike McDaniel stuff, is because we just get so enamored with one guy. And then when that guy doesn't come, it's this team isn't serious. They didn't go out and get the name that I recognize. And listen, there are things to very much like about Mike McDaniel and what his fit could have potentially been here. I'm not going to sit here and say he was a bad candidate and he's not going to succeed wherever he goes. Very well could. But I just think this is what happens. It happens in every aspect of the offseason. It happens in free agency where we're all like, we need to get Linderbaum. If the Lions don't get Linderbaum, they're not a serious organization. Then it happens in the draft. If they don't draft this one defensive end that I really, really like, they're not serious about it. They need to go up and trade up for this guy, or they can't let him go. And then when that, right.
So
Jesus.
either I get my way or the Lions are bad at doing their job.
Right.
Right. I get what I want, or these people aren't serious about running this organization. This guy, again, as far as fans go, I don't know. I just put that reel in there. I don't know if you want to watch that, or I watched a little bit of it, but it's a guy who covers Arizona sports. He has around 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, but seems very much like a fan-oriented
Drew Petzing
blogger, and was interesting about his take, I guess, on. And this is from a show. I looked up the show. It was from December 3rd of this year, so pretty close to the end of the season for the Cardinals.
All right. So shout out Ben Garcia Show, and I'll link this if you guys want it. Where is he? Where is this? Oh, I guess I can just link this clip in case you want to see it, and because I want to properly credit it. Ben Garcia Show, let's watch.
Has gotten an unfair share of the blame for the Arizona Cardinals season. Since taking over for the Cardinals starting quarterback in week 6, Jacoby Brissett leads in completions, passing yards, first down passing, 300-yard games, and just 4 quarterbacks have more passing touchdowns than he does. What I want to challenge fans to do when they watch this show is to think outside the box. I want to reiterate once again, fire Drew Petzing or don't. I really don't care. But I don't want this idea to be put in your head that the Arizona Cardinals are going to get drastically better as soon as Drew Petzing walks out that door. Because here are the facts. He's had some pretty good rushing offenses. Top 7 last year, top 5 the year before. Does he do stuff that makes you scratch your head and say, what the hell did I just watch? Yes. He's done that on more than one occasions, which is why I say if you want to fire him, fire him. The right side of the offensive line is terrible. You combine that with having Bam Knight and Michael Carter as your running backs. Every single offensive coordinator is going to struggle. The point is, this season has come down to the inability to win close games, the inability to stay healthy. And so I think it is a bit of a lazy narrative to say Drew Petzing should wear most of the blame. And if I'm going to sit here and defend Jonathan Gannon because his defense hasn't been healthy all year, I have to give the same defense to Drew Petzing. The offense is moving. Maybe not to the likes that you'd like to see it move. And the San Francisco 49ers and Seattle Seahawks games were embarrassing, but I don't think it's all on him. Drew Petzing has
I don't know. that wasn't as inspiring as I was hoping it'd be, especially when he comes out and it's like,
you remember when
he's thrown for a lot of
Drew
yards
Petzing,
and a lot of touchdowns. Okay, those are not rate stats. That's just okay. He's throwing the ball a crap ton. And listen, if you're moving the ball, you're moving the ball. But I don't know. I don't know. I would say the one thing that worries me, especially after watching that video, is oh yeah, they played embarrassingly against who? The Rams and the Seahawks? Is that what you said? The 2 top teams in the NFC right now?
Yeah.
Those aren't the teams I want you to be embarrassing against.
No, but I think again, the caveat to that is your running back situation sucked and your offensive line, half of your offensive line was terrible. Yeah. Going into the offseason, I think that's a heavy focus for the Lions, is to fix the offensive line. And if the focus is to get back to running the ball more efficiently, that has to be the focus. So you're getting a guy that's going to be aligned with Dan in terms of run the ball first. He's also going to probably be aligned with Brad's vision of hey, we're going to be looking to beef up our offensive line in a number of different ways. I think the question mark for me is the passing offense. Okay, what is that realistically going to look like?
And who's going to be in charge of it?
Yeah.
Because
right,
that was John Morton's baby. He was the passing guy, which again, well, I mean,
And David Shaw was passing game coordinator.
Right. So maybe Shaw sticks around, but Shaw did get an opportunity elsewhere, or at least an interview elsewhere. All right. Someone keeps telling me to play this Ari Myroff video that is from the Arizona Cardinals, breaking down some film. So we'll watch this very quickly. It's just a minute long. I'll share it with you guys too, so you can react live. Oh, I just realized you guys didn't see. Did you guys see any of that? I don't know. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah, I had to watch it on Twitch, but it's fine.
You guys are gonna want audio as well. Okay.
How you guys doing? My name is Drew Petzing, offensive coordinator here for the Arizona Cardinals, and just kind of want to take you through Hollywood's touchdown on the catch and run there on 3rd and 9 in the first half of Sunday's game. All right, so again, if you look at the coverage here, 3rd and 9, high red zone. These guys are coming up playing press man, showing a pressure look here. As Dobbs looks out there, he can see the one-on-one to Hollywood, right? So it's really going to come down to matchup ball. Can I win at the line of scrimmage, and then can I put the ball where it needs to be placed? So as we kind of get the play going here, you see Hollywood does a great job at the line of scrimmage of getting that guy to extend his arms, uses a quick hand release there to get leverage, and then the rest is pure speed. Dobbs does a great job putting that ball over the top and dropping it in the bucket, and then Hollywood does the rest, getting in the end zone and celebrating with the fans. Really well executed there on his part. Really well done.
That was a really cool Microsoft Surface commercial.
I don't know. I guess that doesn't really provide.
It tells me that he knows how. No,
Go
it tells me that he can break down a play. Awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. That wasn't like scheme. That wasn't anything. It was just like, here's a good wide receiver technique. Which, okay, sure. I mean, he has a wide receiver background in terms of coaching.
The most impressive thing about that was that it was Joshua Dobbs who made that throw.
True.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I can see Amon-Ra doing that. If that's what we're trying to accomplish.
All
There's a
right.
Peter Schrager video. No, Peter Schrager has not put out anything recently. Oh, he replied to Foxy with it. Is this just a whole freaking interview of him?
You know what I miss
This season with Peter Schrager
most about
from 2 years ago.
playing? Yelling, "Hey!"
Midway through his
So I got this job.
first season with the Cardinals. We're not going to sit here and watch this. It's 25 minutes long.
I
But
can
if you
watch
guys
it
wanna watch
two
it-
times speed after this.
There you go. If you guys want to watch it. All right. This whole thing is off the rails.
Is it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. If you say so.
I was just gonna put together a whole statistical thing, and now I'm like, I don't even remember what tabs.
Good news, Jeremy. He turns 39 in March, so
No, it's not. He's still gonna be. I'm still older than him. He's never gonna catch me. That's not how age works.
is that how age works?
That's how. No. All right. Let me finish this list, and then I guess we'll jump in here. Right, Jeremy doesn't love it since he was with the Vikings for so long. How dare you?
I think Jeremy would love it since he was a part of the
Yeah,
Vikings.
Jeremy
It's been
would love
easy.
that. Yeah, you got that backwards.
Yeah, he said he's surprised I don't love it
Oh,
because he was with the
oh,
Vikings for
okay.
so long. That's a
I'm surprised too, honestly. That's a good point.
It's rude. It's rude. No, I'm not gonna do this. It's fine. I'm ready to just jump back in, and I'd like to honestly get off air and start digging into this more.
Yep.
Jeremy wants to get back to working.
I do. And honestly, I don't know if I want to be in a space where people are just flipping out in our comment section for an hour and a half.
Agreed.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's the reality of it. I know some people are like, oh, we're not selling this well. I can't fake excitement for you.
Hold on. I
I'm
don't
not
know.
either. Like-
Hold on. I don't know. I thought we were supposed to carry water for the team. Either we're carrying water for the team or we're like not like overly enthusiastic about this hire. I don't know. It's
Ryan,
gotta be one or the
we're
other.
carrying water. We're carrying water. There's holes in the bucket. All right, that's all it is.
Well, if you want me to be honest, I don't like talking about someone that I don't know. I don't like trying to talk as an authority on someone I don't know. And that's the position I'm currently being forced into. And I don't like that. It's as simple as that.
Yep. Yeah. And that's why I was like, Coyote Awashika is in this tier.
Attitude reflects leadership. Great. Remember the Titans quote.
All right. You want to get into it? As
LJ
much as
said
we
you
can.
need to. LJ says you need to get comfortable being uncomfortable, Jeremy.
Yeah. See.
I mean, I could just jump in here and start yelling and just being like, "Who is this guy? I want him like McDaniel." Brr, 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 brr. Like, I know that's what some people want for sure,
That's good.
right? Like,
That's good. That's good. 10.
It'll do great numbers on social media. I can
But
clip that and
I'm
we'll
not.
do thousands of reposts and likes and everything.
But you don't feel that passionately, right, Jeremy? 'Cause
I don't
you
feel
don't know the
passionately
guy.
in either way. Like, people are saying,
But I think
like,
that-
we're trying to cover for them. No, I'm trying to cover for. I don't know about this guy. I don't understand why people are flipping out about a guy that, again, they probably only have very surface level understanding of. Because I only have surface level understanding. Unless you're like the biggest Cardinals and Vikings fans over the past decade.
You also have 500 alerts to read.
Yeah, I mean,
You're gonna have
I
to
don't know
catch
how
up
I'm gonna
next
get to
show.
that.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Let's do it. Let's just do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
Real journalism on 3, guys.
Everybody, put your hands in.
Let me change the bottom text.
Is it going to say we're mad about the offensive? We're angry.
Hold on. Dang it. You guys are seeing my bad typing. Okay.
It's Petzing, right? That's how it's pronounced.
Yeah.
All right. And welcome back to the Pride of Detroit PODcast, here with some breaking news as we kind of got at the end of the last segment. But the Lions have, in fact, hired their next offensive coordinator. They are hiring former offensive coordinator of the Arizona Cardinals, Drew Petzing. And listen, this news just came in as we were doing the podcast, so there's not as much information as we'd probably like to have to be able to give a more thorough analysis, reaction, however you want to like categorize it. But Jeremy, let's just, again, instant reaction as this news came in. Are you whelmed? Are you underwhelmed? Are you excited? Like, where are you at as of this exact moment?
I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna pick a side right now. I'm just not. It obviously comes as a surprise, but that's more a nature of just how the news was released. I'm already, I'm literally in the moment reading from Dave Burkett, who says he interviewed with the Lions last week. He spoke with Jared Goff over the phone this weekend. So, like, this wasn't a spurt of the moment, like, we don't like any of the candidates. Let's pick a name out of a hat. And, Drew Petzing. Sure. Why not? They did their due diligence on this guy. He talked to Jared Goff, which is not a surprise considering how important that relationship is with the offensive coordinator. But me personally don't know a ton of the guy in the 15 minutes I've been able to research him since the news broke. It seems like he's very run-oriented, had a lot of success running the football in Arizona before injuries hit the offensive line and the running backs this past season. He obviously was a little bit aided by having Kyler Murray as a mobile quarterback. But Trey McBride has obviously had a good few years here. The tight ends seem to be very important in what he does there. And so you can see, I think, the schematic fit for what the Lions are doing. But obviously, I don't think his time in Arizona went as he wanted, certainly not as Cardinals fans wanted, so I can see why there's certainly some negative feedback early, especially when I think a lot of people had their hopes riding on Mike McDaniel in particular.
So you would say you're overwhelmed because there's too much going on right now.
Yes, that is accurate.
To answer Miko's question, I think the other thing that's interesting from the Dave Burkett report are those 9 candidates the Lions interviewed, according to him, for their offensive coordinator position. Petzing, who got the job right, Mike McDaniel, Kafka, Arthur Smith we knew about, Jake Peets we knew about, Zach Robinson we knew about, T. Martin we knew about, but also Cleveland Browns offensive coordinator Tommy Rees and internal candidate David Shaw also interviewed for the offensive coordinator position, and he also has interviewed for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers vacant offensive coordinator job. So to say that the Lions didn't do their due diligence, I think is disingenuous. I think that they clearly took their time with this and they interviewed quite a few candidates. And I think maybe the thing that is most impressive about this search, and they checked the boxes when it came to outside candidates, right? Like we're trying to connect the dots on like, okay, what relationship does he have with Dan Campbell, or what relationship ties does he have to the Lions organization? And it seems like the only tie is a guy who's the head coach for the Chicago Bears now, and Ben Johnson. That he was a groomsman in his wedding, and their coaching days go back to their time in Boston College with one another. So I think to just, I don't know, Miko, like how can you best characterize this Lions offensive coordinator search in your perspective, in terms of, are you underwhelmed? Do you think they interviewed enough people? Do you think they maybe didn't take enough time? Should they have brought in other candidates?
I think the only thing I have to compare it to is last coaching hire, when they went and got John Morton after 10 days. And I think that was something that we highlighted last week. So in comparison to that, and looking at the 9 names that Dave Burkett is saying that, like, hey, these are the guys that they interviewed. Like you said, you have a lot of external guys and one internal guy. So that at least communicates to me that you did go out there and you went and looked and tried to find something outside of what you are already doing to see if you can upgrade what your offense can be. And at the same time, you went out and you interviewed the names that I think a lot of fans would have been upset if you would have never interviewed them. You interviewed Mike McDaniel. You interviewed Mike Kafka. You went out there and got, at least brought the big names into the building. But those big names, Kafka, McDaniel, those guys were also up for head coaching jobs. So even if you were probably all on board with willing to offer them the jobs, we have no idea how those interviews went. We have no idea if Mike McDaniel sits across from Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and say, hey, I love the opportunity, but I actually am really interested in some of these head coaching opportunities, and I want to explore those, more thoroughly before I commit to anything. We talked about this as well a couple weeks ago. Like, as much as I think the Lions OC job is probably the premier OC job to have in the NFL right now, any coach is going to take a head coaching job over that. So you kind of have to frame things, I think, Jeremy, in that perspective. It can't just be the fact like, well, the Lions didn't get their guy. Well, no, the NFL is also in a situation that it probably is rarely ever in, when you have 9 to 10 head coaching jobs open at one time in the offseason.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's where some people might get the impression that this was hastily done. They're the second team to hire an offensive coordinator in this, after David Blau went to the Cardinals, right?
Commanders.
Commanders.
He's the Commanders OC.
Commanders.
Yep.
You're right. And so, the Lions were in a weird spot here where it felt like there was some urgency because there's some big names out there. But at the same time, I think you do want to be thorough. And so do you jump in and just get the guy that you like the most and get it done? Or do you kind of wait for some dominoes to fall, see if Mike McDaniel is going to take a head coaching job and see if he's going to be available? Or, now that Sean McDermott goes down, do you want to interview Joe Brady? And the Lions made their decision, and they're going to have to sit with that. Whether it's a good one or it's a bad one, I don't know. The one thing that my research continues to find is that he's an extremely bright person, young person. I think he checks a lot of the box that you like outside of not having offensive coordinator clear success and leading like the best offense in the league ever at any point in his career. He's young. He's outside the organization. He has play calling experience, and so but he is lacking that like really defining moment, or that thing where with Mike McDaniel you can point to the first couple of years in Miami. With I mean, Kafka took over the last half of the year as the head coach, and you could point to the Lions game if you want to get specific. I mean, even Arthur Smith, right? Like you can point to his time in Tennessee as the offensive coordinator there and had some really big success. And so again, I think the underwhelming feeling here is coming from, okay, show me proof this guy has earned it. And the only proof you really have of that is, well, he had a pretty good running game for a couple years in Arizona, and he rose up the ranks of Minnesota, and that's kind of it. So I certainly understand the early skepticism here, but again, I'm still kind of waiting to formally file my opinion when I get to know him a little bit better.
And I think the connection here to last year's offensive coordinator hiring, and I think it's important to contextualize it and to reference that, but when the Lions hired John Morton, I know a lot of our, maybe not consternation, I don't think that's the right way to describe it, because I do think that part of us talking ourselves into that hire was, one, his familiarity and relationship and his time here in Detroit. But the thing I think we tried to talk ourselves into was, well, that one time he was the offensive coordinator with the Jets, he had nothing, right? It was, Josh McCown, I think, and Robbie Chosen One Anderson was their number one wide receiver. It was like, oh, he didn't have any of the pieces. Like, he'll have pieces here in Detroit, right? Yeah. As you look at that job that Petzing did with the Cardinals, I think there's proof that, like, he was actually good, though. Like, the rushing game was good, right? Yeah. When Morton was calling plays with the Jets, it was, oh, he just didn't have anything. That's why they finished so poorly. That was how we kind of tried to wipe away something. So I think, Jeremy, to the point that you were just making, where it's like, well, he doesn't have that gold star on a season or 2 seasons where offense was completely flying. I think there's at least enough there, Miko, to see why the Lions were enticed by him in terms of the run game, tight ends. I think that there's enough there, and there's enough, like, all right, pretty darn good under Jonathan Gannon, who is the same guy who put hands on a player this year. And I don't know how great that locker room was. And then also this season, Kyler Murray, Marvin Harrison Jr., and James Conner all on season-ending IR, right?
Yeah. I think you can also do that with any of these other candidates, though, too. So I think, like, that's the part where you, like, I understand any fan's instant reaction to be down on this hire, similar to what Jeremy and Ryan are both saying. But I do think you have to start walking it back, because if the idea is, well, he doesn't have this gold standard like season as an offensive coordinator, again, you can start doing this game with a number of the people that they interviewed, where it's like, what is it specifically about Mike Kafka that like had you like, they absolutely have to hire him? Like, what's the gold standard of what he did as an offensive coordinator in New York that has you like, that's why he needed to be the next OC? You do that with Mike McDaniel, who was only an offensive coordinator for 1 season in San Francisco before he was a head coach in Miami. And yeah, he had those first 2 good seasons in Miami, but this past season, not that great. So like, if that's the game we're going to play, you can literally start poking holes in everything. But I think, to Jeremy's point earlier, if you're underwhelmed, I understand why you're underwhelmed. I just don't think it should necessarily lead to like any sweeping conclusions when you have yet to see what this offense is going to look like. And I think that's the only thing that I think we as a podcast can even preach right now is like, okay, it's literally wait and see. Like, and it was going to be that, honestly, if we're being honest, it was going to be that with no matter who they hired. It was going to have to be a wait and see. Even if it was Mike McDaniel, yes, there would have been a lot of hype and a lot of excitement. We would have probably had to try and find a way of quelling that excitement, because you have no idea what this offense is going to look like the minute that person starts calling plays.
Yeah, and if you're listening to us, like, and you're super bummed out and you're looking for one area of positivity, I think it's the 2024 season, where you had a full season out of your quarterback in Kyler Murray. You had a full season out of your running back in James Conner. Conner had over 1,000 yards. Kyler threw almost 4,000, was in the running for comeback player of the year. They went 8-9, but you look at some of the offensive rankings there. They finished 11th in DVOA. They finished 10th in EPA. They finished 10th in success rate. Top 5 or top 10 in running game. And so, like, you go out there and you compare the roster too, right? You compare that roster to the Lions roster. So first is Kyler Murray, a quarterback that's had some issues, accuracy issues, pocket issues, but became a better pocket passer that year. You look at the receiving core that year. Trey McBride blew everyone out of the water on the team with 111 receptions for 1,100 yards. Marvin Harrison, was that his rookie year or second year?
Marvin
Not
Harrison.
sure. This is rookie year.
Yeah, last
Rookie
year's
year.
rookie year. Yep.
2024 was his rookie year, 885 yards, pretty good season. Michael Wilson, I think that was his second year, 500 and some yards. So it was a young receiving core. And that, I mean, like, that's it. Like, you're talking about Marvin Harrison, Michael Wilson, and Greg Dortch, Zay Jones, which
Big Greg Dortch guy.
Zay Jones only started 2 games. So, like, not a very deep bench of wide receiver talent, and still managed to produce essentially a top 10 offense out of it. So there is proof of concept here with a lesser roster, but you also can't just ignore what happened last year. And I understand most of it was with Jacoby Brissett and some offensive line issues and some running back issues. And God knows we've been blaming injuries about the Lions' performance over the last 2 years. So it's important context, but, you know, it's still hard to defend 31st ranked rushing attack, granted 32nd in yards or in rushing attempts. So you take the good with the bad, and you kind of just hope that it all clicks here, and it'll be a little bit of a risk, right? Because you win outside the organization, because this isn't a guy that is necessarily comfortable with your scheme, knows your scheme. And I think that's going to be fascinating where the next step is. How much is this guy going to have his thumb on the, is it going to be a new scheme? Did Dan Campbell talk to him and say, hey, we have the scheme that we want to run. We just need you to orchestrate it. We just need you to add your own twists, add your own things, call the plays like I want them called. That to me is the most fascinating part about this, because I did think maybe they were going to play something a little bit closer to the vest, a guy that he knew, a guy that, like, instead, like, we could be looking at a pretty significant scheme change. And that's maybe the part where I'm a little bit scary. Like, it's more scary for me. Like, okay, he's had some ups and downs on his resume. To me, it's like, okay, well, now what? Now we're going to change an offensive scheme that has produced a top 5 scoring offense in 3 straight years. I don't know.
Well, I think that's where we have to have the conversation, though, about scheme versus like philosophy, though. Or I think that's where you start to have that conversation, because I think Dan has a philosophy of how he wants the offense and the defense and special teams to play. I don't think you're changing that. You may change some things schematically, but again, I think they still will have to line up. I think they still will line up philosophically with what Dan wants to do. He, like we've already talked about, he's had 2 really good seasons with him running the ball. One when he was in Arizona. That lines up philosophically with what Dan is going to want to do. They probably haven't gotten the most out of the passing game, but you see what he was able to do with the likes of a talent like Trey McBride. Well, you're giving him someone who is Trey McBride adjacent in Sam Laporta, granted on how he comes back from his back injury. But even still, you get an Amon-Ra St. Brown and a Jamison Williams. You're getting a wealth of riches. So you're able to see how that can possibly evolve under his leadership. But I think there's a good reason to possibly be excited for a schematic change, because I think this past season the Lions maybe tried to stick too closely to what they tried to do in previous years. And maybe you do need to, like we've talked about, or at least I've been a big proponent of, is that this team does need to evolve in some capacity. And that may require some uncomfortable changes schematically. But as long as the philosophy stays the same, as long as this is a team that's going to prioritize the run game, that's going to prioritize, offensive line play and execution and things of that nature, I think the rest of this offense can excel because you have the talent across the board at the skill positions that you need to be, again, still a top 5 to 10 offense in the NFL right now.
Yeah. So something I'm noticing is an interesting trend here, though, with the Arizona passing offense. I went back to 2024, arguably his most successful season as the offensive coordinator in Arizona. In 2024, Jared Goff was number 1 in the NFL in drop back percentage plays with play action at 37%. 37% of his dropbacks were play action. Kyler Murray was tied for 4th in the NFL with Matthew Stafford at 29.5% play action dropback rate. If you go to 2025, this past season, Jacoby Brissett was 11th, tied for 11th in the NFL at 26.9% for dropback rate play action. Jared Goff was at 27.9, which, think about what that says about the Lions' offensive line, their ability to, hold up to make play action work. You go from 37 to 27. You're bringing in a guy who I think, again, Miko, to your point, maybe like philosophically, like I believe in play action. I believe in using tight ends. I believe in running the football. A guy who's coming from also Cleveland as a tight ends coach, under Kevin Stefanski. I think all these things were appealing to Dan Campbell. And I maybe just want to go back to maybe they felt a little bit of urgency to get a guy that they really liked, to get a guy who apparently his conversation with Jared Goff went well. Because I can't imagine that Jared Goff got off that phone and was like, "Hey Dan, like who's this Drew clown? Let's move on." You have buy-in from them. You have buy-in from there. It's the idea that what if they would have got left with Mike McDaniel gets hired, Kafka gets hired, Monken gets hired. Like these guys all get hired, and then I don't know about the interest league wide in Drew Petzing though at this point, right? Like I want to know where else was he? Yeah.
I think you mentioned something very important. You said the words Kevin Stefanski.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably looking for an offensive coordinator right now.
Just got that Falcons job, right? Yeah. Great point. Okay, there we go.
I think who knows if he interviewed? If I don't even know if Kevin Stefanski has gotten that far in the process of being the head coach to start interviewing players. But like you have to imagine Stefanski or that Petzing was probably going to be on his short list. And then
great point.
Shout out to Eric Schlitt in the chat and a couple people also pointing out I want to go back to like the coaching ties and scheme things. There was a very important connection that he does have to someone on the Lions staff, and that is Hank Fraley. They're both in Minnesota together. Hank Fraley was the offensive line coach for 3 years in Minnesota while he was there as well. So like there is a working relationship there. But like again, like to me, we talked about this in our break a little bit. It's just really interesting to me that it seems like this coaching search was heavy on the running game, which on one sense makes a lot of sense, right? You want to get a guy that can revitalize the running game that took a huge step back this past year, whether that was offensive line related or scheme related or whatever. But John Morton's background was in the passing game. So who takes over that role? Who takes the step up? Is it someone that's already on staff? Is it Dan Campbell? Does he have his thumb a little bit more on that? Am I maybe not giving Drew enough credit in what he's done in all the play action stuff and getting your tight end involved in the passing game? Or David Shaw, who we've now recently learned that interviewed for the offensive coordinator position. Maybe they like his potential there. Like I kind of always assumed that Shaw and Morton were kind of a package deal a little bit and thought maybe like, okay, he's probably going to go somewhere too, but maybe they like him and what he did because the Lions passing game did not take that much of a step back last year. It didn't.
No.
I don't think that's a thing that probably just needs a tweak and not a full schematic overhaul, I would say. So who is going to lead that charge? Is it Petzing?
Scotty Montgomery?
Is it Scotty Montgomery? Maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think there are still names internally where you can like give some additional responsibility and things to. I think Scotty is a great name considering what he was able to do with the wide receivers this year, specifically Jamison Williams. And Ryan, you brought up something during the break. If you're hoping to keep Scotty Montgomery, I think the best way of doing it at this point in time is just to try and give him more experience and give him more responsibility so that he feels like he is like more of his talents are being utilized on this team so that he isn't lured away by the potential of an opportunity to move up somewhere. It's like, no, we're now going to give you, I mean, I think he already has assistant head coach title, but assistant head coach, wide receivers coach, pass game coordinator. If that's like again the responsibilities that you want to give him, obviously pay bump and all of those types of things. But I think it helps you keep a really hot young name on your coaching staff for the foreseeable future because like we continue to say, like OCs can get poached at any given time for head coaching jobs if they have one or two really promising seasons. And you want to make sure that you have like a good repertoire or a good reserve of names that you can kind of pull from if that eventually happens. Um,
Also,
there was another point that I was going to make, but go ahead, Jeremy.
yeah, let me jump in real quick and try to answer my own question about Mike. Because one thing that you also have to probably, maybe not necessarily assume, but like certainly a possibility is that Petzing brings in some of his own guys, like Morton did with Shaw, right? And so the Cardinals have a pass game specialist named Connor Sanger, he was with the Cardinals for 4 years. Was the assistant quarterbacks coach, offensive quality coach, and then eventually got promoted to pass game specialist last year. Pass game didn't do great last year, but it's tough to blame him when again like, you're dealing with 5 games or whatever of Kyler Murray, an up and comer young guy, and then team might be looking for a tight ends coach. They don't have one currently. It might be Seth Ryan if he gets promoted from assistant tight ends coach, but Ben Steele is the Cardinals tight ends coach. He's been coaching for 18 seasons, 12 in the NFL. He's been the tight ends coach for 3 seasons, and obviously did a really freaking good job with Trey McBride. So, just maybe names to kind of keep in the back of your head if you're wondering how the rest of this coaching staff might shake out after, the big domino has fallen now.
Go ahead, Miko. You got that point?
No, actually, I don't. I was going to let you go ahead.
I mean, the only thing I think that's maybe worthy noting that maybe people did or didn't know is that Petzing's contract ended. He was not technically fired. His contract just expired with the Cardinals. Don't know if there would have been any interest in the Cardinals retaining him. They currently don't have a head coach, right?
Right.
Okay, so you kind of got a headless Hydra out there, and you don't know what their relationship would have been with Petzing, but now that's off the table for them entirely. That kind of had to be the situation because if he was under contract, then the Lions would have needed permission to interview him from the team, and who do you ask for permission on a team without a head coach? Those are questions I don't have answers to. Just like I don't know if this is a good hire yet. I don't have that answer yet.
And I don't honestly, much like with draft picks, much like with free agency, you truly don't know the answer to those questions until the season kicks off. Like in all honesty, right? I think even Jeremy, obviously you'll be there in training camp, you'll get an idea to see like what this offense is kind of shaking up as and if it's any different. But we truly will not know like the impact of this hire until week 1.
Yeah. So I guess
that too.
I was going to say if you're trying to see whether or not this coaching hire checked your boxes, I think the thing for me, most importantly, the Lions got a play caller, right? I think that was at the top of my list. I didn't want Dan Campbell calling plays. I wanted him to be back in his more comfortable role. When it came to game management, when it came to timeouts, when it came to replay, when it came to just kind of overseeing everything. I think we get the sense that Dan Campbell is at his best when he's doing that. Clearly got a guy who has extensive play calling experience. I think the point that Jeremy made was great in the sense of I didn't know how urgent the Lions needed to be in their hiring of an offensive coordinator, but when you see Stefanski get that job in Atlanta, you'd have to assume that he would be at the top of the list of guys to interview and to potentially hire as their offensive coordinator. Who knows where Zach Robinson goes? Maybe Zach Robinson ends up back in Atlanta. I don't know if he gets a head coaching job. But I think that for me personally, guys, even though I need to learn a lot more about Drew Petzing and we've kind of just scratched the surface, I think the Lions did the two things that I wanted them to do the most. One, a guy with play calling experience and play calling success. I think you can look at those 2 years in 23 and 24 and say that successful offenses, right? We can also agree that I don't think the Cardinals had as much talent as the Detroit Lions currently do on offense on either of those teams. But then the second point being play calling experience and also a guy who, is outside of the organization. They weren't just set on John Morton was here and it worked. Bring him back. I think hopefully they made the hire based on a guy who knows what he's doing and can really keep that offense. They took a step back last year, guys, right? Like we can all say that like the offense took a step back. I like though that they brought a guy from the outside who it's like, oh, we don't need to really do a whole lot, right? And I think that was the big thing, Miko, all season long was like John Morton doesn't have to do a lot, right? It's a turnkey offense. I want a guy with new ideas. I want a guy with fresh ideas to come in here and to hopefully kind of revitalize some of that spark that maybe Dan Campbell was alluding to when it came to like the competition aspect of like, we need to get some of that je ne sais quoi back, like we need some of that essence back for our football team. Hopefully they got a guy who's kind of wired like that. I'd assume they got a guy who's wired like that if they hired him.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback off of that. You said that you got two things on your wish list. Those are two things that were on mine, and I got two additional ones. Like you got someone that's on the younger side, so it's not someone that you have to worry about. Like, do they have this old dated view of what offense should be and is in the NFL? But in addition to that, you got a guy that has success in the run game and understands, at least through looking at his time with Arizona, like he understands the value of a good run game, which is exactly what this team needed. You needed a guy who understands the importance of offensive line play, someone that understands like when you have a talented back or talented backs, if the Lions are able to, keep hold of David Montgomery or whatever they decide to do in that reign, like you got that as well. And so those are things that, like, again, I can check off and say, like, hey, those are positives for me. Those are four good positives. There are some things that are still to be like TBD for me. What is the passing game going to look like? Because outside of Trey McBride having a lot of success in Arizona, not a lot of production from the wide receivers. Is there an element of creativity? Can he bring that to a Lions team that, whether it's a need or a must-have in Dan Campbell's vision, like it's always been something that's allowed them to be unpredictable, is their ability to be creative and to catch teams off guard. Those are two things, Jeremy, that like are still TBD for me. Other than that, like at least there's enough for me to go in there with a tad bit of optimism, and enough for me to not just completely shoot this higher down.
Because I feel I'm not in a position to give you a fully informed take on Petzing, I'm just going to use the words of other people. I have two quotes here that I think from people that have worked with him for a very long time have to say about him. And yeah, they're probably a little bit biased in the positive, but I still think it's worth considering their opinions. The first comes from former Vikings receiver Jarius Wright. Petzing was an assistant wide receivers coach and the wide receivers coach for the Vikings for a few years there. He says, quote, "He's very, very intelligent. If you give him a school book, he would make all A's. You would think that wouldn't translate so much to football, but if you gave him a test to know any play, any position on offense, he would know it, every single thing about it. And that was as an assistant. We knew at some point he was going to make it and be an offensive coordinator." And to bring things around to Kevin Stefanski, who, again, I think probably had a lot of interest in this guy when he hired Drew Petzing as their tight ends coach in, what year was that? 2020?
2020, yeah.
Was
he there for 2 years?
He was there for 2 years.
2021?
Yep. Ooh, a young tight ends coach. Interesting. That's being hailed as like a very smart books guy. I feel like I've heard that before. Anyways, Stefanski says, quote, "I think he's one of the smartest coaches I've been around. I say that because he coached defense in college. He's moved to the offensive side of the ball, been in the running backs room, the wide receiver room, the quarterbacks room. I think that type of breadth of experience is really important as you're developing as a young coach. I think anybody who has been around him sees that he has a great knowledge of the game." And that was 6 years ago. And he's got some offensive coordinator experience since and some success, right? It's a top 10-ish offense as the Arizona Cardinals. OC, All right, I think that's all I have. I've exhausted everything I've learned in the past 20 minutes about the guy.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway, Ryan, that listeners and fans should have is that, like, yes, it's unexpected, but I think there are positives to glean from this hire. I think I think you said it during the break, if you're not sure of how to exactly feel about this hire, first and foremost, Jeremy is obviously going to have an article up on prideofdetroit.com at some point in time today with probably more information and more insight on Drew Petzing. Definitely give that a read if you're on the fence. And if you don't trust just our opinion, I think there are going to be other people out there that do have opinions on what Drew Petzing has been able to do as an offensive coordinator and what this means for the Lions. There's nothing wrong with going out and doing your own research in that situation and coming to your own conclusion. If you're underwhelmed, fine, be underwhelmed, but understand you will not be proven right or wrong until week 1 of the season and probably later in the season, depending on what this roster even looks like come the start of the season.
And listen,
after 1 week in Detroit, John Morton was a failure, right? That kind of ended up becoming true. But anyways.
But I think let's also be clear. Like, I think in a week we're going to congregate and give some fuller thoughts and fuller opinions right here on the podcast to make sure that you're not just getting a surface level immediate reaction. I mean, as best as we can do in the moment, because this is when we agreed to do a podcast in the middle of this being announced on a holiday. Thanks for that, by the way. And so, yeah, we'll form further thoughts here in the future. But for now, I think we gave all we could there. Gave it all we could. Put everything out on the field.
A lot of grit.
All right, guys. Well, with all that said, like I said, if you guys are looking for any more news or updates specifically on this hire or anything even related to Kelvin Sheppard's interview with the Miami Dolphins, that will be up on the Pride of Detroit website. So definitely check that out. If you want to watch this live stream and definitely see some of the conversation we had during the break as this news broke, you can find that over on twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit, or you can go over to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Pride of Detroit as well. And you can kind of enjoy that as well, because that was where we were much more unbuttoned and kind of more free flowing with some of our thoughts and opinions on this hire. So if you want to check that out, you can do that in those two places as well. With all of that said, I'm Miko. He's Jeremy. He's Ryan. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch and listen. And we will see you guys in the next one.
Recording stopped.
Office hours going to be crazy. Yeah, now my week just got a lot more busy. Okay. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can with some of these alerts, maybe spend like 5 more minutes here, but I do really need to like get to work badly. So let me try to do that as quick as possible. What just happened to that? Did I just X? No. Okay. Let's see. Where did everything start? RGA, thank you for the 37 months. Jed in Savannah, thank you for the 18 months. Says second Twitch baby incoming. Junk Trunk, 41 months, says FTB, Caleb is Temu Mahomes on the hard off platform stuff. Rather Matt on the easier medium stuff. Yeah, it's kind of a disappointment that we're not going to have more time to talk about the Bears stuff. Because I wanted to celebrate that for a second. Emerson, by the way, followed 2 hours ago before dropping. Emerson followed 2 hours ago. Was a tier 1 sub 2 hours ago. Jed in Savannah dropped 100 bits, says we can get the Falcons cast off. Sorry, we don't even need to talk about that anymore, Jed. Talking about hiring Arthur Smith and Raheem Morris. Jay Rago 100 bits says I know Jeremy lost his mind when Caleb's 180 no scope that pass to force up. Yeah, I did lose my mind. That is true. Joshua Mercer, 63 months, subscribed to the channel, says 7 Twitch babies turning into Steve Martin or Robert Reed right now. Steve Martin have a lot of kids? Or is that a reference to a movie? I didn't know that. Okay, so Emerson, who
movie reference, I'm pretty sure.
Cheaper by the dozen.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So Emerson followed. Then he became a tier 1 sub. Then 25 gifted subs, 25 gifted subs, 25 gifted subs, 75 gifted subs. Shout out to Emerson.
Thank you.
Crazy. I don't even know who you are. You're new to the community, but thank you. That's crazy.
Huge thank you.
That is overly generous. Very, very much appreciated. And now we are We are close. I know it says sub goal is 300. We are at 393 now. That number no longer updates on its own in the top right. I forgot how to do it, but like we are a smidge away.
500 sub goal. Let's go.
400. Where was I? Joshua, I got yours. Wretched, thank you for the 6 months subscribed to the channel. McVeigh, Rob, 34 months subscribed. Chaos Cam, 19 months. Wait, we might be at 100 from him. Emerson, follow, 25. It's 75. Yeah, I think it was 75. Either way, doesn't matter. Thank you so much. Chaos Cam, got that one. HSW, thank you for the 3 stream streak. I never really read those out, and I probably don't have time to read them all. 100 bits from Nick the Greek. 200, 300 bits from Nick the Greek. I'm not reading any of them. Dark Wizard, thank you for 37 months. Says, anyone else find themselves deeply invested in Ben Johnson and the Bears losing by the fourth quarter? Yes, very much so. 500 more bits from Nick the Greek. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm just gonna have to skip them all. Oh, Brett Whitefield's in the chat. My Petzing
Hello,
taste.
Brett.
Elite run scheme, really creative with gap concepts, which apparently left Detroit and went to Chicago this year. With a healthy backfield in 2024, his offense ranked 2nd in yards per carry, 5th in EPA per rush, had the 3rd fewest runs stuffed. Passing game has some really cool structures, especially the under center game, working off play action. Got good production out of extremely flawed / bad quarterbacks in Kyler Murray, Jacoby Jones. Wait, no, not Jacoby Brissett.
I was gonna say, if Jacoby Jones came back into the NFL to play quarterback, that would explain why the Arizona Cardinals had such a bad season.
Oh, God. R.I.P. Jacoby Jones, by the way.
Is he dead?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who is he? Do I know who that is? I don't think I even know who that is.
Wide receiver for
He
Baltimore.
was the
Remember
Ravens.
The
Yeah, that's right.
Kick return
Yeah.
in the Super Bowl. Yeah. Nate Tice's quick take on Drew Petzing.
Yeah.
Makes sense in terms of structure and offensive preference, i.e. under center and more quote-unquote traditional, so a great fit for Goff. Noted that the run game fell off post Clayton Adams, who's now the offensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys. So it says run game fell off post Clayton Adams, but the offensive line and running backs rooms were a mess, and Hank Fraley is already in the building.
Can you do me a favor and throw that in Slack? I want to throw together a post that's just people's reactions.
Sure.
Because my opinion is not that good, but people who've been covering him, like I would love a post that's just like, here's what everyone else is saying about him that knows more about him than I do.
And then on a second tweet follow-up, he said, I think the best compliment I can give Petzing is that everything he does is sound. There are times when there could be more creativity with his passing game, but it's not egregious, and the play design still made sense. There. To which a Cardinals fan responded, said, Kurt Warner disagrees with the pass plays making sense. Pretty much every week he was dropping videos asking what the Cardinals were doing and why the routes didn't ever seem to complement each other. And Nate Tice goes, his opinion.
Yeah. Kurt Warner defensive of his own team, I get it.
But I also saw like Ben Solak, right? Like he had a similar take where it was like run game wasn't as good without Clayton Adams, but also like your personnel, where are you at? But again, like a glowing endorsement of like, well, even though there's no Clayton Adams, like Hank Fraley's there. So I think like Hank Fraley is still really well respected as far as that name goes around the league,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and I don't know. It's an offensive. He was just the offensive line coach, right? Clayton Adams.
I think so. Yeah.
He probably doesn't have that much of an influence on scheme and all that sort of stuff, and it certainly sounds like the offensive line is going through some injury issues, which is hard.
Hi.
Yeah.
Welcome. Come on over here. The water's warm.
I'll say we can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they lost Will Hernandez pretty much for the entire season. I have to dig more. All right, let me get through the alerts. Guy's name, they give it the 17 months. Says, I don't know how I feel higher when the fan base of the last team he OC'd would have cut their hands off to have the head coach fire him. Yeah, I tend to find those people are the least trustworthy, to be completely honest. They're
Who are those people?
fans of the last team he was with.
Oh, yeah. How many games did they
I
win
think-
last year?
I was gonna say, like, that's always a little bit of the caveat, right? Like, if you don't have a good season, no one's gonna be complimentary of anybody.
Which Lion fans were complimentary about Ben Johnson after he left?
Also true, right? Like, how many of, probably even some people in the chat were like, he's too fancy and like get big moments. He got too cute. I think will be better.
I was gonna say, like, people weren't complimentary of Aaron Glenn when they were winning games, and they were like, and it was still very much fire AG.
I also saw that from like a lot of Cardinals fans, like scrolling through, and it was like, he's awful. He has like head scratching calls that he makes sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, Jameson Williams, divisional round versus the Commanders.
Show
Like,
me an offensive coordinator who hasn't made a call where you're just like, what are you doing? I mean, Dan Campbell, right? And he almost blew the Bears game because of the silliness.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's that thing you were saying, Jeremy, where it was like, how many like pristine, perfect offensive coordinators are available? Because if they are, they're about to become a head coach somewhere.
Right. I'll read one Nick the Greek. All right. Chat, relax. Says when the 100-bit says when the male brain runs at true peak performance, it results in hairlessness. However, there's a small risk of developing supervillain tendencies. Hashtag OC Lex Luthor.
So someone call him Uncle Fester.
Oh no, that's unfortunate.
Lord Goof of 44 months says I saw a meme that Sean McVay is just the white Cash Patel and images are burned into my brain. Not touching that one. Karen,
I saw the images.
41 months says I'm late. Are we happy or nervous about this new offensive coordinator?
I'm closer to happy. If I'm being honest, I'm probably closer to happy than I am nervous or upset.
Still in the information gathering stage.
Yes. Apparently, breaking news, Mike Valenti is defending this decision. So,
shocker, because I'm sure fans are angry, so Valenti wants someone to argue with, so he's going to take the other side.
But here's the thing. I think there is sometimes something to that where it's just like, oh, the mob is all like going to this extreme. Let me pull you guys back. I mean, that's kind of what I do. And not in a way like you all are wrong, but like, hey, maybe let's rein in it a little. It's what I was like with Arthur Smith. Like, I'm not defending Arthur Smith as I want him to be the next guy, but the people that like are going to lose their freaking mind, I'm like, well, okay, like this guy isn't an idiot. He led a top 5 offense 2 years in a row, and that just like, you don't just fall into that, even if you do have a Hall of Fame running back.
Maybe you kind of fall into the job though because your dad's rich.
Nepotism.
We don't got to worry about it.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
We don't got to worry about it. I see a lot of people saying what Valenti's saying about it, but what does Rico have to say about it? Oh, I don't have my dial tone button that I can hit. That Valenti always does.
I'm pretty sure he just has whatever Mike Valenti has to say about it. Comeback Trapper, thank you for the 9 months. That is the most I've ever talked crap about 97.1 that I don't even listen to anymore. So, am I caught up? I'm caught up. Comeback Trapper, thank you for the 9 months. Says Drew's Day press conference. No, I don't think so. I think the next time, the only time well, maybe not. I think the NFL Combine is where we'll hear from him. Petzing. That's usually when we hear from the new coaches for the first time. And I'll be there. Committed. So you got about a month.
You were surprised that you're caught up because, like, in actual real life, you're not caught up.
No, I'm way behind on everything. I mean, I did too, Brett, to be fair. We're not even on the off-air screen. All right. I think we're going to get out of here.
I think we all did. I think we all had to Google him. Like, right?
Yeah. It's fine. I'm so narrowly focused on the Detroit Lions during like 90% percent of my football consumption that it's hard. It's hard for me to know everyone else around the league. So
I was going to say specifically coaches. Like if you are well versed in other teams' coaching staffs, like kudos to you. But like I'm not.
yeah.
I would have to look up probably like 95% of the OCs and DCs of other teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Eric Schlitt quotes that he's passing along.
In the
The
chat,
boss is here.
Oh,
They
smart.
do multiple things on offense. Dan Campbell said of Petzing's
Offense in 2024?
offense in 2024. Heavy under center, gap scheme in your face downhill with James Conner, and then certainly they've got pistol formation. They've got gun off of it in the run game, play action, boots, keepers. Let him break the perimeter, look downfield for his receivers. So they're dangerous over there.
That's a
Now-
pretty standard Wednesday morning Dan Campbell intro presser.
Now, the whole boots and keepers and let him break the perimeter things.
Right.
Oh, that's not going to be happening here.
Although, like that video of Jared Goff's like highlight film from Cal has been making the rounds on the internet, and it's
Back
like
when he was like early 20s.
athletic and moving, and people are like, "How does this happen?" And I was like, "Okay, well, also let's consider the athleticism in college football."
Let's consider youth.
I think there's a tad bit. You guys are gonna laugh, but like I think he can throw on the move a little bit better than some people give it credit for.
Yes, because
How
I think
much
it's
better?
such a small sample size. But like, what game was it where they had a designed like play action boot, like, and he was rolling out and he like made a good throw, and I was like, why don't we see more of this?
Right.
It's
Like,
it's the out of structure, like everything breaks down, he runs and tries to make a play and he looks
Yeah,
like a baby
that's
giraffe.
not good. Right.
No, not good. Bad.
Yeah. But if you get him moving like intentionally, I don't think that's completely out of his wheelhouse. I really don't.
No, I don't think it's out of his wheelhouse. I think he's just more comfortable in the wheelhouse where he gets to be stationary and survey and deliver.
And Karen, I agree with that. He definitely looks silly doing it. Yes.
And he is a receiving touchdown merchant. That's true. He should have two under his belt.
Yeah, we didn't get the chance to talk about replay at all.
Oh God.
Or what a
do we
catch
just
is.
need to
What's a
redo
catch
this
or what's an
entire thing?
interception?
Do we just need to do an oops all break podcast tomorrow where we're just talking about all the things we wanted to talk about in between segments?
Oh man. Yes, I think so.
Maybe. All right. We're going to get out here and do some work. Thanks
Jeremy's
for
gonna do
joining
some
us.
work. Let's clarify.
Yeah, that's fair. Sorry that today's got railroaded a little bit, but and also we didn't come in with super hot takes about an offensive coordinator we were learning about on the fly. But hopefully you guys appreciate that measured approach of us not flying off the handle or like swinging into like, yes, this is the hire, this is why. You guys want the Oops All Break podcast? You might have to convince these guys to do that. We're in the off-season mode, and to do back-to-back days on podcasts is probably a tough ask. But anyways.
If we can do it on a Wednesday, I'm game, but I'm not doing it tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Either way,
Sorry.
appreciate
Is
you
Graham
guys.
live?
Is he?
Somebody in chat.
Let's see what
said
he
it.
thinks of the offensive coordinator hire.
Yeah. Why don't you guys just? All right. He is live. All right, we'll do it. So if you're over on Twitch, we haven't done a raid in a while. If you're over on Twitch, basically you don't need to go anywhere. In about 20 seconds, you guys will all be sent to Graham Glasgow's Twitch channel. Yeah, don't be a jerk, obviously. You're representing us and all Lions fans, so even if you have opinions on him that are less than flattering, either keep them to yourself or be nice about it. If you're on YouTube, unfortunately, we can't do that. One, because I don't even think he's streaming on YouTube, but two. But anyways, just another reason to go to twitch.tv/Pride of Detroit. Or if you want to jump over to just straight Grams, it's twitch.tv/G Glasgow. GGLASGOW. But till next time, who knows when that's going to be? Soonish, probably, to give you more opinions on the Lions' new offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing. Just stick right here. Make sure you get alerts everywhere. And we'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody. Okay, I believe Twitch has been rated. YouTube. We're just going to make sure that goes all the way through.